Come read with me. This is Violet Calkins, and I am reading from my book, It Takes Two, a little bit me and a little bit you, and this is from the series As I Recall. It follows the first book that I wrote, Six of One, half a dozen the other, and these books can be found on Amazon if you look. This is Dell again. I am going to tell you about arriving in Vietnam and go from there. When I first went to Vietnam, we left Fort Lewis, Washington by commercial airline. We flew to Anchorage, Alaska for a 15-minute stop and then flew directly to Japan. We stopped in Japan for about an hour and then flew to Cam Ranh Bay, South Vietnam. I think I went by American Airlines or United Airlines. When we arrived in Cam Ranh Bay, it was kind of an aqua water with white sand. A pretty place, but it was mostly secured by the military. The Army processing station was there. We landed there and got directly into buses that had heavy wire screens on all the windows. This was so that no one could throw grenades in the windows. We went to an Army processing station where we were processed into Vietnam. There they issued all of us our jungle fatigues, jungle boots, underwear, socks, and combat gear, a rucksack, duffel bag to put our clothes in, pistol belt, ammo pouches, and all that stuff. We spent 2 days there in processing and getting all our clothes. Then we were assigned to a unit or division. I was assigned to the 9th Infantry Division, which was stationed in Dong Tam, Vietnam. But before going to Dong Tam, I was sent to Bien Hoa, which was a military base secured by the 25th Division. It was just outside of Saigon in Vietnam. Now, Bien Hoa was a receiving company that would indoctrinate us into Vietnam, like telling us the weather there was hot, sticky, and also getting the incoming troops prepared for the Vietnamese people. It was like a miniature training base where we were issued a weapon. We went out on little patrols and stuff. The patrols were in semi-secured areas, but in Vietnam, nothing was ever completely secured because we never knew who the enemy was or where they were. Upon landing there, we were put into formation, and the lieutenant in charge got up on a platform in front of us. He said, "You pretty much have your run of the camp. We have meetings. We have one at 0700 hours in the morning. We have one at 1200 hours at lunchtime and one at 1600 hours in the evening. If for any reason you should miss any of these meetings, or if you are not here for roll call, I will put you on ship-burning detail for the rest of your stay here." I had no idea what ship-burning detail was, but it sounded kind of funny. Actually, what he said was, "I'll have you burning shit for the rest of your stay here." I still had no idea of what burning shit detail was, but it sounded like nothing I wanted to do. So I made sure I made all the meetings. Well, it turned out later that I found out all the latrines in the area were just common outhouses. They had half of a 50-gallon drum in them, and then half of it had a door under the toilet seat. When those 25-gallon drums would get full of human defecation, they would pour diesel and gasoline into the container and stir it up and set it on fire to burn it. Then you had to continue to stir it to keep it burning until all the defecation was burned up. It stank terrible. No one wanted to do that. That was ship-burning detail. If you screwed up, that is where you would end up. That was the Army's way of getting rid of all the thousands of men's waste. We stayed there for our week, and we went on a couple of little patrols and got to see how things went in Vietnam. We were then sent to our assigned units. Mine was down south. There were 4 of us going to the 9th Division from my group. They put us on a Caribou, which is a small aircraft which has the capability of taking off and landing on a very short airstrip. They flew us from Bien Hoa to Dong Tam. As we flew into Dong Tam, the Caribou was flying about 5,000 feet, and all of a sudden it just dropped out of the air and landed on a little airstrip that didn't look like it was capable of landing a Piper Cub aircraft on it. We made a straight down descent and stopped immediately. Then they said, okay, we're here. We got our duffel bags and gear off. It turned around and taxied and took off. Here we were, looking like we were sitting out in the middle of the jungle on this little man-made landing strip with this cargo and no one around. No one with weapons. We didn't have weapons yet because they had not been given to us there by the 9th Division. The weapons we got in Bien Hoa had to be returned when we left. So we were sitting there in the middle of the jungle in Vietnam with no weapons. No one was around, and we were wondering, what is going on here? Is the enemy out there? Are we going to be sniped at? We sat there about 45 minutes until a deuce and a half came up the road, stopped, and picked us up. That is a 2.5-ton Army vehicle, a truck. That is what they haul most of their cargo in. The driver pulled up, and he has a gun, and he has a guy riding shotgun with him and carrying an M16. It is still called riding shotgun even if he doesn't have a shotgun. He pulled up and said, "Throw your stuff in the back of the truck. Help us load this stuff and then hop in." So we loaded the truck with the little cargo there was and put our duffel bags in the back of the truck and climbed in. We rode about half a mile to the fire base, which was in Dong Tam. We were actually in a pretty secured area, but it didn't look like that way to us, where we were standing at the time. We got to the 9th Division headquarters, and they processed us in, assigned us to a company and a platoon. They told us to report to our company, which is right down the row of hooches. They are what you live in. They are 2-story barracks, 100 feet long and 2 stories high, with lots of bunks in them and lots of footlockers. As we were walking down toward the companies we were assigned to, I was walking to Charlie Company, 160th Infantry. They had all this artillery set up around there. They had a large 155 millimeter cannon. As we were walking down, they had a fire mission which we did not know about. They started firing off the cannons, which thoroughly scared you-know-what out of us. We thought we were being fired upon. We hit the ground. Really, they were just firing the cannons to support somebody else. All the old recruits laughed at us and called us newbies. They gave us a really hard time. Finally, we got down to our area and got signed in and assigned a bunk and assigned a spot. We started meeting our new comrades in arms. That was my indoctrination into Vietnam.